And I want to welcome all you guys back to day 2. I switched locations and actually went to my office, so hopefully we won't have all of the tech drama we had going on in the background last time. However, I will tell you that Amanda Rose got caught up at a medical appointment, and she will be popping in probably about 20 minutes, 20, 30 minutes in. So if you guys could just please go ahead and mute yourselves, it'd be really fantastic, and we'll get going here. So yesterday we didn't have Amanda Rose's group on the slide, so we wanted to put it up again today. If you haven't gone over to join my group, please go over. Mine is the Platform Builders groups, and there are some forms and a workbook that I posted today inside that group that will help you be able to get through some of these exercises. There's one post that has a sample, so you can kind of see what you're supposed to be filling out, and the other post has the blank sheets, so you can go ahead. I also gave you a handout for diversifying your income streams, which I hope will help some of you start looking at where you can bring in diversified streams. Very, very important, because you never know when something's going to happen and one of your income streams dries up. There's also going to be a book in there on a separate post, and these posts are all together. You can find them over in forms as well. And it is our actual workbook, our planning workbook, and it's called Planning Your Best Year Yet. So if you get a chance, please download that, because there's some really great exercises in there that will help you take a very gentle look back at what you've done over the last year and what's worked, what hasn't. I just want to caution you when you go through it, this is not about beating yourself up, because that's what I tend to do when I start going through the past year, like, darn, why didn't that work, and why didn't I do that? Please don't do that to yourself. It's time to just reflect, move on, and be really fantastic about what you're doing. You see the chat here. Everybody's, what's the URL to down? Okay, there is no URL, Kemi. It's actually inside the platform building group. If you are a member of that, you can download it from there. And if you're not, it's the www.facebook.com/groups/platform-builders. That is my group. And if you're not part of Amanda Rose's group, go over there as well. So that's where you can get the forms when we're done talking about them today. And I wanted to, of course, that just stopped everything here. Let's go. Oops. So I wanted to take a little closer look at what we did yesterday, just because we did have so many tech difficulties. I wanted you all to be aware of, hold on, one more chat. Finding it. Thank you. Okay, you got it. I wanted you to be aware of where to go to create that SEO loop that we were talking about yesterday. So the first thing you do is put your content together on video, and then go upload it to your own YouTube channel, which you can create and brand over on youtube.com. Post it over there, and then, I guess this isn't going to cooperate now. Record that video, branded video to YouTube, and then create a landing page inside your website. Very important, inside your website. You can either do it with WordPress, or what we have done is we use leadpages.net, and we insert it. Part of the strategy that we do is, you'll see it on Thriving Thursday. You'll see this post tomorrow. We have the top, and you can kind of see where my guide is here. This post is always the most current, right up at the top. And then we put the 3 posts from the last 3 weeks there. The reason we do that is because people tend to look at that, and they'll click the top one, and then they may have missed the other one, so they start clicking through. And all of a sudden, the clicks are building up your ratings on YouTube as well as on your website every time they click. And then here down at the bottom, be sure on every piece of content you have, whether it's a vlog, whether it's a blog, whatever it is, a landing page, be sure and have a call to action down there, so you're leading people to where you want their next step to be. Don't assume they'll know. Go ahead and just put it out there. Click here to get, and do that. And then so you create that landing page inside your website, and then this is the post you'll see tomorrow inside my platform building group, and this is the loop we've created. So people come to expect this every Thursday within my Facebook community. Click on it, then they go into my website, then they click into the video on YouTube. So be sure your YouTube channel is very blinged out as well. If you go over to mine and look, I've got a platform building quiz over there that people can take. So you're just leading people to, you know, tiptoeing them through the tulips, if you're old enough to remember that song. If you're not, I just go look up Tiny Tim. But you're leading people down, you know, little baby steps down a path. So that's what we wanted to do. So today, here are some steps we're going to take as we go through this. We're going to identify and create content that speaks to your audience. We're going to be crafting a 6-month vision for your book and your business. And if you have a book connected to your business, it's both. If you have a book and you don't have a business built around it, it's time to start thinking about it, because you need to treat that book just like a product. And that's what many, many people miss. They're writers. They say, oh, I just want to write. I don't want to market. I don't want to build a business. But the truth is that book is a product. And unless, you know, people who make the bestseller list, it doesn't happen by accident. There's a very intentional marketing build that usually takes 6 months to a year behind that. We're also going to determine what steps you'll need to take. And at the end, we're going to start laying out a month-to-month plan, or at least showing you how, with the forms that I put over in the Facebook group. So I want you to think about for a minute, if you have a piece of paper, please take it out. What's your, because we're going to do a little exercise here, what's your plan? What's your relationship to planning? I see so many internet marketers out there who are trying to gain visibility, and, you know, for their books, their products, their services, and they don't really have a plan. I've been in business for over 20 years doing this, and every year, at the end of the year, we take that look back and determine what really worked well for us, what didn't work so well. If we have an idea what didn't work so well, why it didn't work so well. If it was something that we can correct, we've educated ourselves or gotten better information than from when we originally tried it, then we may try it again. If it's something that we just don't get, we either decide, are we going to invest in that information? Are we going to invest in a coach to help us do that? Or are we just going to let it go? So that's really a determination by how important it is. So I just want to do a little exercise with you for a moment, and this is in the workbook as well. I want you to really just take a little look in the rearview mirror, and think about for a moment, just make some notes, whatever comes to mind first. Think about what went really well in your business this year. What are the things that you accomplished that you are absolutely really proud of that happened this year? I can tell you from our perspective, our academy was up. We had some really great group programs, but we had some campaigns that didn't go as we had planned. Our very first campaign of the year was not what we had hoped it would be, and we had to pick that up. So next question, where did money flow easily to you and without a lot of effort? What were those income streams that really, really worked and it seemed just easy peasy? And how can you capitalize on that a little more in the next year? What projects, campaigns, and promotions did you enjoy most? For us, it was our Launch Like a Pro Group program was amazing. We just had, the results were so fabulous, as well as our social media that sells did the same thing. We sold it right and left, and at one point we sold it before we even had it created, which was kind of scary as well. So let's shift gears a little now and say what didn't go so well. I'll go back to this for a minute. What didn't go so well? What projects and promotions didn't turn out the way that you had planned? And ask yourself too, what were the decisions that you made about those projects that in hindsight, and hindsight is 20/20, what would you do a little bit differently? And maybe that means that you give yourself a do-over card. What would you have done differently if somebody gave you a do-over card? This is like a mulligan in golf for those of you that play golf. And yeah, I suck at golf, so I get lots of mulligans. I'll share that with you, being very transparent here. you want to beat somebody at golf, invite me. So let's kind of jump into what we really want to get with this planning is, so step one is really identifying and connecting with your ideal audience. And I know for so many people, this is really, really tough to get a compelling vision of who our ideal client is. But it's very important for everything that we do. If you're a little muddled about your ideal client and you're going off and saying, well, these are my people and maybe those are my people, and being way too broad, you're really going to hurt your efforts to bring people into your books and programs. And that's why it's so important to really have a written description of what you intend to manifest in your business in the coming year. You need to know your core values and know exactly who you're speaking to. And when I say this, people don't think about, well, I speak to people every day at networking groups, or I speak to people on the phone. This is what I'm really talking about, is in order to connect with your ideal audience, your copywriting is going to have to be amazing. The copywriting on the back of your book is going to have to speak to that ideal audience. So having that clear, compelling vision of exactly who your target audience is just amazingly important. A lot of times we work with our clients and we actually spend the first couple sessions working on your client avatar. And what that looks like is being able to bring that person that you've identified through demographics and psychographics and geographical location and buying behavior, which is super important. And probably the thing that most people forget is, what is the behavior of my buyers? So we bring all that together and actually put it into a cartoon caricature, so you have it on your wall and you're very clear on who that audience is. So moving on to part two of this is being able to craft a 6-month vision for your book. And what that means is being able to take your vision and shape it as a thought, and then being able to string those thoughts together around what you desire to have not only in your life, but in your business. Because these thoughts are usually really accompanied by emotions, the emotions of excitement and anticipation and possibility. And when we put those intentions out into the universe by writing them down and verbalizing them to other people, that's when they really come true. So we want to be able to have a really defined business vision, a 4-dimensional vision of what we want to do, and the get known, get paid connection. So the business vision, as it's defined, is what engages your mind, heart, and soul. What really gets you excited about what you do, and how can you translate that excitement to other people? And then the second part of it is it energetically aligned with who you are and aligned with the type of people you're trying to attract? When I first got into business, one of the things that happened is that I thought that my target audience was writers, and I wasn't aligning myself and my purpose in the right way. And what I was really attracting was a lot of starving artists. And until I energetically got all of this aligned, I wasn't really attracting the kind of audience who could afford me. And it was very, very frustrating. So that's why it's so important for you to become very energetically aligned as well. And that means that you hear authenticity probably thrown around ad nauseum these days, but that's why it's so important, because you don't want to be that person who feels icky about the sale, icky about asking for money. And yes, icky is a professional term. You really don't want that pit in your stomach because you think people are going to say no. If you're speaking to the right people and you're very aligned with what you're doing, the money will just flow right in. And this keeps you connected to your why as well. When we find ourselves, I know with myself, when I find myself not making sales, not connecting with the right people, it's usually because I've shifted my why a little, and I'm not going back to what I originally wanted to say, and the people that I wanted to work with. And so all of this informs you as to what needs to be created. So we want you doing more of the things that you feel really good about. And, you know, of course, there are going to be things that are outside your comfort zone that you're going to have to get comfortable with. But as long as you're combining those things with the things that you're really good at, it'll keep you very aligned. So what you really need to have around all this is a very clear, compelling vision, not only of what you want, but how you're going to create it and who you are, so you don't exhaust yourself with things that are peripheral or superfluous. You really need to be focused and right on there. I do a lot of this through what I call vision crafting. And so vision crafting for me has 4 dimensions to it. The first one is our numbers. We want to be really in line with the numbers that we are trying to create. Because, so to give you an example, on one of the sheets I'm going to show you, there's a $500,000 income level. Those are the kinds of numbers that you have to be really intent on. And it doesn't have to be your 500,000 if yours is 100,000 or 50,000, whatever it is. But now that we're approaching the beginning of next year, you need to get really clear on what that looks like. What is that income level you're striving for? And as part of that, I even take this a step further, and I do a lot of what I call vision boarding, where I take a piece of paper, in fact, several pieces of paper, and I write the intentions down for the year. So next year I have 6 intentions that I really want to work with. And then I take 6 pieces of paper and completely collage what that looks like to me and put it on the board. So they're side by side, and that becomes my vision board. So get really clear on those numbers. The other numbers that you need to be clear on as you're putting together campaigns is the analytics. That's a part that people forget about when they're putting campaigns. They're not really looking at how many people are opting into their lead magnets, how many people are in their social media communities, how many people are engaging. If you've ever done a webinar, like Amanda Rose and I are doing here, you'll know that, we had over 100 people sign up, which was, considering we did no promotion, was really excellent. And thank you to you guys. We have an excellent crowd. But the reality is that most of those people who sign up won't show up. Usually that number that does show up is around 15%. We actually ended up with 25%, which is pretty extraordinary analytic. But then you have to kind of go through those numbers and figure, okay, if this many people are showing up and I need this many sales, then how many of those people do I have to close? So you have to get really clear on numbers. And I know for many of us, we're creative people, so the numbers suck. I hear that, I get that, but it's something that you definitely have to be able to put together and do it in a way that you can mirror reality, the reality of what you have set up. The next is pictures, which I just talked about a little bit, is putting the words to the achievements that you're trying to create. So whether it's a simple visualization exercise that you're doing, or you actually do a vision board like I do. I try to do a combination of both, so I see myself in what's on that vision board. So you have to remember that, this is all part of the intention here that you're trying to create. And there are three disciplines there. You have to have the intention, you have to have the discipline, and you have to be able to get through the beliefs you have while you're doing this. The third sector is the words. So this is both written and spoken. I encourage you to have a practice that you do along with this every morning. Maybe wake up and do what I call the 10-10, which is the 10 things that you're absolutely grateful for every morning, and the 10 things that you want to intend for the year. It's actually amazing to me sometimes when I look through my notebooks, because I save them at when I do the second part of that, my 10 intentions for the day, how quickly they come to me. where I'm actually like, oh my gosh, I can put a new intention on because I reached that goal. So, you know, be sure and have a practice like that every morning. For some of you, it may be meditation where you go through your head, or it may be actually writing it down. And if you want to take an extra step to bring all of that towards you, when you start talking to people, start telling them about it. Start saying, you know what, I want to buy a house in 2018, and that's what I'm moving for, and or, you know, moving towards, because the more you verbalize it to other people, the more it becomes actually true inside your head. And then the last part of this is thoughts, and thoughts are really connected to beliefs. So as part of this, when you have the desire in your life and business, be sure that you keep your thoughts in line with that. And I actually used the exercise that Armanda Rose gave us yesterday with the Kegel move. Last night I was having a few negative thoughts, and I thought, oh my gosh, I could use that move because I can't have a negative thought at the same time I'm doing this. So, you know, if you find yourself in a little bit of negativity, there's another way that you can actually use Armanda Rose's exercise, is to obliterate those thoughts by using her Kegel exercise. So putting all four of these together is really getting clear on that compelling vision and where you're going with it. So one of the things that I want to talk about too while we're doing this, let me just go back here, is 4 tips for really creating that compelling vision. The first one is taking time to create this craft or vision. And I know a lot of you are parents, you have busy, you know, businesses, you don't have a lot of time to do this, but this is really important to cut out some time, whether it's at the beginning of the day or the end of the day. Or for me, it requires me sometimes taking off and, you know, going and staying in a hotel for the weekend, I like to run up to Jackson Hole, it's 5 hours away, and just kind of hanging out in the mountains and taking that time to really sit down and go through all this and be very intentional about putting that plan together. So be sure you create, when you're putting all this together, that time where you're uninterrupted. You know, you can be one with nature or whatever it is that you like to be one with to put this all together, and really take time to craft the fuel and the beauty and the serenity of what you're trying to create in your life. The second thing I recommend is, while you're doing this, open your heart and mind. That's why I like nature. Nature really inspires me. But be open to all the possibility that's out there. Because when you really put your mind to it and your heart and mind are open, things will happen. They just do. If you're closed off and you're sitting here, you know, you're writing it down. I want to have webinars this year, but you're thinking, oh my gosh, I'm so scared I can't do it. You really have two intentions that are cross purposes there. So when you do this, sit down and be very open. That may mean you need to do a little meditation before you even begin, but just be very serene and open to everything that God or source or wherever your belief system lies has for you. You're here, you have a purpose, and the universe very much supports that when you have an open mind and heart. The third is harnessing the power of the pen. So research shows that the one common element that top achievers have is they write down their vision and goals. So that goes right along with that 10-10 that I was talking about. This is so simple and so profound that I've achieved a lot in the last 20 years using exercises like I just mentioned, because it keeps me on task, because I can refocus myself no matter how bad the day was yesterday, which by the way was pretty bad with all this tech boo-boos. I can wake up and I can be refocused on what it is I'm still trying to achieve. Yesterday was yesterday. Let's go right back to where we were, even if we got distracted. So, I'll just say in 2016, last year, I actually began my year with a vision of moving to Utah. And it was one of my top intentions. I made it a resolution for January. And I actually had so many obstacles in 2016 that at the time I had no vision of how I was ever going to do it. And April was probably one of the worst months I'd had in years. I was really like, I just wasn't seeing a clear vision. And at the beginning of May, something happened that made it all possible. So, you know, just writing it down and sticking with what you want to do is so helpful to getting it all done. And I have to tell you, you know, May, some things happened. They opened up, and by August of 2016, I was here in Utah, exactly where I wanted to be. And I'm even going to tell you something that took a step further. When I came to Utah in June looking for a home. And I thought I had one. I left. And when I got back home, the person that I put the application in with, he called me and he said, you know, I'm not really comfortable with giving this rental home to someone out of state. And so all of a sudden, here I was in June, and I didn't have a place to live, and I didn't have time to go back to Utah. I actually jumped on the internet, and I found a home. I qualified. I took it sight unseen. Huge risk. When I got here in August, I signed the lease. I got here in August. We pulled the van up. It was the most gorgeous house. That it was exactly what I had been intending over the last couple months. It had every single thing I wanted. So do not discount the power of the pen. It works every time. And decide how you want to feel as well. Strive to feel that way every single day. So for many of you that, you know, if you want to feel positive, then get up every morning and really strive to how you're going to make that happen on a particular day. But Karen Jones, look at, she's writing me a note. You moved last September. Okay, she lives in Sandy. Love to speak to you too, Karen. So decide how you want to feel every single day and make it happen. And I'm going to recommend a book for you guys here. It's one that I got a lot of these ideas from. It's called The Desire Map, and it's by Danielle Laporte. And it is an amazing book that will help you with deciding how you want to feel. It is it shares some really powerful processes for unearthing your top 5 core desired feelings. And there's really a lot of inquiry in it about, you know, who you are and what you do, and the excavation of your desires as well. So here's somebody else that has a little chat in there. Who is it? Sorry, I need to finish. Krista, great. See you later. Thanks for stopping by. Krista is part of ELP, Entrepreneur Launchpad. So let's go on to the next one. So I have to get rid of all this here. Oops. Okay. So the next part of it is the get known, get paid connection. And I think this is where a lot of us really struggle with what we're doing in our businesses and online. So I just want to go through some of the things that really need to take place in order for you to get known and get paid. We went through some of the things yesterday, some of the content you can put together. But first of all, you must have what I call the I am factor. Your actions must be congruent with what you wish and what you manifest. And that actually stands for I am is action and manifestation must be intention. So it's intention equals AM, action and manifestation. I hope I made that clear. So what that means is if you're writing all these things down every day, like let's say you're writing, I want to be debt free by the end of 2018, and yet every day you're running out and going shopping and putting things on your credit card. That's not being congruent with those intentions. Let's see, what's another one? If you are dieting or you want to lose 10 pounds and every night you're having a bowl of ice cream after dinner, even though you know that it's adding extra calories, that's not congruent with what you're trying to manifest. So it's very important to be really clear when you're putting down these intentions for 2018 that your actions match what you're intending to manifest. And then start filling in those missing pieces of what you want to do. And when I say missing pieces, I mean what's missing inside your platform. So as you're filling them in, you know, what is it that you want to do in 2018? Do you want to have a book launch? Do you want to have a program launch? What is it going to take to get to those things? If you're someone who needs to build a list, which I know a lot of my book people need to, because the list is what actually sells books. If you need list building campaigns, then it's time to start learning how to put those together. If you don't have a sales funnel, the sales funnel is a big part of launching a book, a program, a service as well. It's time to start getting going on one. Those funnels actually make you an attractive joint venture partner, which will help you sell books, products, and services. But influencers won't take a look at you until you have not only a funnel built out, but one that is actually converting. Is it live events you want to take on next year? What is it going to take for that? Again, it's going to take funnels, it's going to take list build, it's going to take JV partners. Do you have all that together and ready to go? Affiliate promotions. Again, another thing that you need a sales funnel for. Promoting other people's products and services as an income stream. That's a huge income stream for me because I have a big list. I'm able to, I think I might have mentioned, I don't know if I mentioned yesterday or not, I went to France this summer, and while I was gone, we didn't produce a lot of content. We just promoted Lisa Sasevich. And that was, every program that she sold, and she's one hell of a closer, I got commission on. I came home and my trip was paid for, basically, because of that campaign that we were able to run with her. Do you have seasonal promotions that you want to do? If you have a retail product, are you going to have a summer sizzle? Are you going to have a back to school schedule, a new year kickoff? Are you going to have something put together? And then ongoing list communication. If you're someone who has a list, it's time to start communicating with them once a week. And that means creating good content. I know that once a week scares people, but here's the deal. You're not going to stay top of mind unless you're in contact with those people on a regular basis. So start going through and figuring out what it is that you're missing for next year that you really have to put together in a big way to be successful. Step number 3 is determining what the steps are that you need to take. So that means creating a master list with the vision scanning, using all those things that we went through in the vision scanning. There's a form inside the Facebook group where you'll be able to download and see what a master list looks like. The master list that I created in there in the sample is what I wanted to achieve last year. Yours doesn't have to be that big. I work a lot, I have a lot of big goals, but maybe your goals are smaller, and that's okay. It needs to be what you can do comfortably without being overwhelmed. So when we're talking about this in step 3, that means you're going to go through and identify goals that you want to achieve. And I'm going to define a goal as a specific desired outcome that can be measured and tracks. So that would be a major revenue goal, an annual revenue goal. Maybe it's the amount you pay yourself in a paycheck every month, because as a business owner, you should always be paying yourself first. Maybe it's the size of your list at the end of next year, at the end of 2018. I know for me, we want to double it, and that's going to take a lot of hard work to be able to do that. So the next, after you go through and determine those, go through and scan your answers for projects and campaigns that you need to implement to get to those goals. Examples would be if you want a new product launch or a live event or a free giveaway. Put those under what I'm going to call primary projects, and you'll see that on the list. And then this is where you start intending how you're going to achieve that goal. If you already know the steps, then write them down. If you don't, then write down the very first step you need to take, and the other steps will fall into place. I guarantee it. Don't not do, double negative there for you grammar Nazis. Don't not do this exercise because you don't know the next step. Put down the very first step you're going to take and take it. It will reveal itself. I guarantee it. Finally, look over your answers for clues for things that you'll need to do on an ongoing basis to accomplish the goals you've laid out. That's why we had the content crash course yesterday, because content is a huge part of what people are missing to actually achieve these goals and be able to get known and get paid. You may have big goals on your sheet, but if people don't know who you are, it's going to be really, really hard to take care of that. So put down at the bottom of that sheet that you can grab over inside the group, have the ongoing that you're going to do every single week or month or however you're going to do it, and start completing it and making sure those get done. So it's all about organization, which I hate organization. I don't know how you guys feel. So again, identify the goals, be sure it's a specific desired outcome. Write out those primary projects, how you intend to reach those goals. And if you don't know what that next step is, you see the ladder here, take that first step at the bottom and just have hope and faith that the next one will appear. And then set those ongoing actions and have a master list of tasks that you can actually go through and cross those things off as you get them. And then go on from there to complete your 6-month plan. Now, I don't know if I put the 6-month plan in there. There's definitely a 3-month plan. I didn't want you guys to be super overwhelmed. I know for some of you, 6 months is like, oh my gosh, I have to plan out 6 months. But at least try the 3-month. You want to put down your goals, your priority projects, your ongoing actions, and who you need to be to show up. Now, I probably should have put that one first because that is huge. You can write this down all day long, but if you don't show up, it's not going to happen. And again, that's that congruence that you have between what you're actually putting down there and your goals. Like for me, sometimes I have a hard time showing up. I would rather be, paddleboarding on a nearby lake or, doing something else. But I have to look at that list and know that I have to show up to make all of this happen. So I want to talk about 7 conscious decisions or 7 questions that you're going to have to go through this. And as we go through this, I want you to apply the 7 questions on the master list. Make sure that everything you write down there is not really, I have to do that. Make sure that you're excited about it and it's a hell yeah, I'm doing this year. So I want you to take that piece of paper out again and rate all of these on the scale of 1 to 10 so you know where your emotions lie with this. So first of all, the things that you want to accomplish in 2018. Does it feel fun? We can't be all work and no play, or none of this is going to work. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you feel about what you need to get accomplished next year? And if your answer right now is I don't know or no, then it might be time to sit down and figure out how to make it fun. Otherwise, it's going to be a really, really long, boring, awful year.
Hey, Juliet, it's Amanda Rose. Thanks everybody for your patience. Crazy day today. We were actually driving back and there was a drunk driver in front of us. So we then had to call the Florida Highway Patrol and follow the guy a few more miles so they could go and get him because he almost hit us and I didn't want him to hit anybody else. But I wanted to share too is so sometimes for me, I could sit in my office and create things, or I could take myself out to a park or a beach and do some of the work in places that would make it fun for me. And so it doesn't always have to look like it's got to be done a certain way. Like we need to be in the office to do that. But what could you create outside in those situations and bring joy to things? Because I know, I'm pretty sure Juliet's the same as me. Fun is important in our business. So really being creative and saying, okay, I don't need to do it how somebody else would do it, but how can I do it in a way that would be fun for me?
Absolutely. And I was talking about that earlier about taking that time for yourself to do it. If I go up to Jackson Hole, I can stare at the Grand Tetons all day. There's so much wonder and possibility there that I just find myself in a really creative space. And yep. I hope all of you have that kind of space that you can do that with.
And sometimes too, for myself, I could be driving to yoga or Pilates in the morning and I'll get these master ideas because I wasn't sitting in my office. And so even creating those spaces where you can allow those ideas to flow to you because your mind isn't focused on work. So it allows that space for those ideas to come to you because you're not in the same routine. You know, your mind, you're driving, your mind is clear, you're not focused, you might be listening to some nice music, and then the ideas just flow in.
Absolutely. Question number 2, when you're putting all this together, does it give you an opportunity to grow? If you're stagnant in the same old things you've always done and they're not working for you, it's time to try something new and something that will help you grow. If your business isn't growing, you're in trouble, especially in the digital online world, because that is a world where marketing is constantly morphing. It changes all the time. And it changes because our consumer changes the way that they think. Things that worked 10 years ago, you know, email marketing where you didn't need to know anybody and you could send out an amazing program and people would just buy it, doesn't work anymore. People have been burned. You have to be able to micro commit everything you do and baby steps. So if there are things in your world that are not working, probably because you're not growing. So then you have to grow and have fun at the same time, which can always be a challenge too, because sometimes growing is not fun at all. So that's why it's so important to make that fun playtime in there, because there are going to be some things that are hard too as well. Is what you're doing aligned with your core values? So again, you know, as we went through at the beginning of this, you have to make sure that what you're doing is aligned with who you are. For many years, I had coach after coach after coach who said, Juliet, you can't tell people that platform building can be hard. Otherwise, they won't do it. Well, the truth is that I started telling people it's difficult, and my clients love me for it because I'm not going out of the gate with big promises saying, oh, in 3 months, you know, you're going to be this or you're going to be that. It's work. And so always be sure that your message is aligned with who you are and what you do. If you want to be in integrity and you're a truth teller, do it. If you're a slime ball, be a slime ball, but know that people are going to know it. That's probably a really poor example, but you know, always make sure that everything is aligned. One of the things I will say I love about Utahns is and they don't work on Sunday. A lot of them don't work on Sunday. They're very religious, and that is aligned. When you see businesses closed on Sunday, that's who they are here, and their businesses are very aligned with their core values in that respect. I hate it sometimes because you know, I don't always go to church, so I'm out doing chores on Sunday, but I do respect the fact that so many of them here are really aligned with their core values, and it makes them lovely people. So if you don't live here, you need to move here. The fourth one, will it move you towards your vision? So make sure that everything you're doing, everything you're putting down on these worksheets is going to move you forward. You don't ever want to go backwards. You don't want to stay stagnant if you have a business. You're always moving forward into your hopes and dreams. And maybe for some of you, that might not mean that, you know, you make more money this year. Maybe that means that you're going to go travel this year. Your business is doing what you want it to do, and your vision is more travel, more fun, more, you know, doing whatever you want to do. I have to tell you, this year, one of my visions was in July. I thought I was pretty much a professional stand-up paddleboarder because everybody's on vacation. And this was the first year I said, I will not stress because I don't have a lot of business in July. I will go enjoy myself. I traveled a little bit. Like I said, I went to Europe and I paddleboarded like every single day. I was out on the lake. So if that's your vision, make sure you're moving towards it, no matter what that vision is for you. The opportunity cost, is it worth the pain and the gain? You know, a lot of people out there say no pain, no gain. Sometimes it's the wrong pain. So make sure that the opportunity cost is worth the gain. If you need to work 15 hours a day to get to your dream and your family's suffering, you may find when you come home and your wife wants a divorce that it wasn't worth the pain. So make sure that you have good balance there, and what you want to do and the way you go about doing it is going to be worth the long-term pain. If you're not, or the long-term gain, if you're not getting what you want because you're doing too much of some other thing, maybe that you don't do it. Do you have the capacity to execute? This is kind of a huge one because I've had many times throughout my career, Amanda Rose, chime in, because I know all of us who have businesses, big businesses, have this, where we have big goals and we have big vision, but we don't have the capacity to execute. So make sure when you write all of this down on the worksheets and in the workbook that you actually have the capacity to execute it. Do you have the training you need? Do you have the staffing you need? Do you have the money you need? If you don't have the money to get the training, it might be time to go out and look at funding options, because if you can't execute a plan because you don't know how and you don't have the money to find out how in an effective way, your goals and dreams are going to be unattainable.
And Julia, you had mentioned
stories. That's what I was just going to say.
You had mentioned also just having a team, and lots of times people think, oh, I have to hire somebody like an assistant. Nowadays, we can, in our businesses, there are many things that somebody else can do for us, and what we could make per hour working with clients and they only charge us a minuscule amount to do the work for an hour. So say you make $300 an hour, So you make $300 an hour and you pay a virtual assistant $40 an hour. Isn't it worth you working with clients and letting that virtual assistant do some of the work for $40 and handle some of those things? Because I gotta tell you, I really struggled with this, and I think part of it is because I'm a little bit of a control freak, but I had to figure out what could I let go of, where I could let somebody do some of the work for me. They didn't have to do all of it, but some of it. And it gave me a stronger ability to execute the things that I needed to execute, right? And so they could take care of those things, scheduling or social media, things that I didn't need to do. And it would allow me to do the things that are most monetarily lucrative for me. So I always end up being the cork in the bottle, right? Because I was stopping my own flow because I wasn't saying, okay, this is a good use of my time. Let me bring somebody else to do those activities. And it really gave me a much stronger ability to execute.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. I have a virtual assistant as well. She puts my campaigns together, my social media. So I write the campaign. She makes sure it's tech work. The more you can work in your zone of genius, the more money you're going to make. And that's just a fact. If you're spending 3 hours a day on tech when you could pay somebody $50 an hour to do it, and you're actually on the phone with clients or in the act of getting clients, you're going to be much better off.
Especially the things you don't enjoy doing. If you enjoy certain things, do the things that are fun to you, but let go of the stuff that isn't fun.
That too, or the things you're procrastinating on. So one of the things that I was going to recommend to you guys here today was if you are a procrastinator, and you need to read Brian Tracy's book, Eat That Frog. Because once I read that book, I took the least enjoyable thing off of my list every day that I was actually, I would see it go from, oops, I didn't do it today. Okay, it's going on tomorrow. Oops, I didn't do it tomorrow. So now with that strategy from Eat That Frog, I do the least desirable thing first thing in the morning. It's done, and it's not going on the list. So I kind of have a hierarchy of things that need to be done and things I don't enjoy that I have to do right away. So it doesn't drag out. And I'm not even a procrastinator. I can't even imagine if I was a huge procrastinator what that would look like. Number 7, is the energy around it expansive or constrictive? And this is really where you have to get in touch with why you're avoiding certain things. And does that hem you in? And that goes right along with what Amanda Rose was saying. about getting that assistant. If you don't have that, then you're not expanding your business, you're constricting your business. If you make $300 an hour and you're spending 3 hours a day on tech, that's $900, and you could pay a virtual assistant $150. So it's very constrictive around what you're doing. To the other thing that she mentioned, which is why her and I get along so well, and probably most of you on this call, if you're business owners, can relate, is the control thing. I'm a control freak.
Oh, wait, and Julia, it gets worse. And a perfectionist.
Yes. I'll tell you guys a very funny story because she's not on the call, so she can't spank me later. I actually had a client who wrote a book on overcoming perfection. And she's a lovely lady. She's a fabulous, fabulous therapist. I hope that's not her on the chat going, oh, I am on here.
But no, it's not. It's not her.
So when you put a book together and you bring it to us to publish, there's formatting that has to be done. And as you're going through the formatting, you have to, we format it, we give it back to the author. We were on revision 23, and usually authors have like 1 or 2 revisions. My staff was literally writing me texts and emails in caps, like they were yelling at me, like, she has no business writing a book on overcoming perfection because she still has a problem. So perfection's a big thing, Amanda Rose.
Yep. I like to say I'm perfectly imperfect because that kind of allows me to be like, And perfection is the one thing that will stop you in your tracks. Because people will say to me often, well, I'll start speaking when I'm perfect. Well, yes, you want to invest in the training and being the best that you can, but you'll never achieve perfection. None of us are perfect. I'll do those Facebook Live videos when I've got it down, when I'm perfect. It's just not going to happen. And it's the death of all dreams, perfectionism, thinking I'll get it right before I do it.
Absolutely right. And we're actually going to talk a little bit about, now that Amanda Rose is on, at the end, she's going to talk a little bit about tech blunders and things like that we have yesterday. There's no perfection. There was no way yesterday with all the problems we had that we could have said, oh, hey, sorry, canceled. We just had to slog through it, and you'd be amazed at what you learn about your ability to pick up perfection where there is imperfection, or being able to just go with it and be imperfect, and that it turns out much better than you ever anticipated. So control, constrictive, perfection, constrictive. So make sure that everything you want to do is really expansive. So when you map out your annual plan, there's some things I really want you to plan for in a big way. Time off and holidays. Make sure you have those marked off. And that time off, make sure that you have time scheduled in there for rejuvenation. Time off, you may be going to do something with your kids, but make sure you have time off scheduled for rejuvenation and personal development, because it will make you a better mother, father, sister, brother, daughter, whatever you're doing. That personal development and rejuvenation time will make you a better person for the people around you.
And Juliet, I've heard from many people that when they've worked less, they made more.
I do.
Yeah.
The month of July actually turned out to be a pretty darn good month, between going to France and being a professional stand-up paddleboarder.
But I think for myself, I have a minimum of 4 weeks off per year. So if you're working a job, you're lucky if you get 2 weeks or a week. So imagine as an entrepreneur and business owner that you literally schedule in 4 weeks, even if it's a staycation. Give yourself that time off so that you can be your best for your clients. Because if you're burnt out, we're not our best. There's no way. We can't give to people when we're not giving to ourselves.
Mm-hmm. There's almost like an ease that comes around it. I wish I could be like the July business person year round, because there's that ease of just saying, you know what, I'm just going to go do this today, and whatever happens, happens, that makes it actually come in, I think. So there's a lot to be said for that. Birthdays. Be sure that you create time off for not only your birthday, make sure you always take your birthday off, but take your husband's birthday off, your kids' birthdays off, your mother, your father. Make time for all these people. I have to tell you, that they're not going to be here forever. Every
Yeah.
day is precious. Make sure that you do this. It's important to show your family love. Family projects, same thing. Make sure that, you know, if you're the mom who helps with the after school homework, make time for it in your plan. Get up and work the minute you drop the kids off at school. You work from them to 3:30. Those are your boundaries. That's it. Your clients will love you for it if you absolutely set those kind of boundaries and expectations and work with those family projects. Events, work hours, conferences, have really good boundaries around that. Occasionally, I'll work a Saturday, but not very often. I want to have that time free. Events, be sure you're getting out to events and conferences, because those are really good ways to get away from your family, and I mean that in a good way, and also to network and be at ease and do some of the things that you wouldn't necessarily do at home. And by that, I don't mean what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. I mean, you know, just get out and do things. Events, same thing. So be really clear on those boundaries, what those are. I find the best way to do that is I have a calendar where people sign up. I use vCita. There are plenty of products out there. Have that calendar and only schedule if somebody outside those calendar hours, if somebody absolutely can.
Yeah, 100%. Or they're paying you a lot of money.
that too. Yeah, I'll do a VIP day on a Saturday.
Yeah, me too. But it's rare. You know, it's only when they can't do it. Yeah.
So I don't know. This is what the page looks like that's inside the group. I wish that had come up a little bit better. But this is the master list of intentions, and I probably should have changed. The one inside has changed to 2018. But this is where I was talking about list all those things that you need to do. Be sure you have your goals at the top. I have an annual goal there for last year of 500,000. You know, this year I'm filling mine out right now, and it includes an income level, but it includes some travel that I want to do this year as well, because I actually want to take a week to 10 days every single quarter. I want to get to Africa. I want to go to, you know, Spain and Italy. So I have some things I really want to do now that I'm getting older. And I need to do it because my college age kids are in the house. So I need to get away from them a week every quarter as well. Love you, mean it. So the list doesn't have to be in any particular order. Just make a list. Separate the monthly and separate out. I actually have this one color coded. I don't know how well you can see this, but the green is my goal, the blue are my projects, and the purple's the systemization. And I do that because if I want my tech person to do something, I want to know what the systemization is. I want to know what needs to be set up. What programs do I need? If I don't already have them, do I need to purchase them? One of my goals for 2018 is to move from Infusionsoft to HubSpot. And it's expensive, it's scary, but by doing that, I will have everything I need to monitor social media, just everything on one platform, and that will be really amazing for me.
Hey, Juliet, somebody just asked, is the master list in the Facebook group?
It is. All these forms I'm going to show you are all in the Facebook group, as well as the workbook that I'm working out of on this webinar. So that's in there as well. There are going to be a lot of questions that I didn't go over on there that I'd love for you to sit down in an afternoon and just go over, or a morning. Map out your monthly focus. So I told you I wasn't going to overwhelm you with the first 6 months here. Take off of your master list, this one right here, take off what you want to do January, February, and March, and put those on there and start working the list. So maybe take, 2 or 3 of the goals for January, what the projects look like around that, and if you have to have systems that pertain to those projects, write them down. So to give you an example, if we run a campaign in January, I'm going to have a goal that I want to hit, how many people we bring in, what does that project look like, and then the procedures and systemization. I'm going to have my copywriter work with me to write it. I'm going to have my tech girl put the lead page down. I'm going to have her set up the drip campaign. I'm going to have a new assessment done around what we're doing. So get all of those listed out so you know exactly what you need on every single project. And then take that sheet and map out your quarterly. If you're brave enough to try the year, then go ahead and have a clear picture of what it is every quarter and map it out. This is in there too. And a clear picture of what has to happen clearly for you to complete those goals. I think this will also help you feel in control of your priorities. It helps me feel in control, not that I needed any control with my control issues, but at least I'm a little bit more organized. It also helps you work more efficiently and hold on good ideas without acting now. I don't know how many of you have read Elizabeth Gilbert's book, Big Magic, but there is the most fabulous concept in there about if an idea comes to you and you don't act on it, it will move to the next person. So make sure that you have those great ideas written down, and by putting it on this quarterly overview, you have the ability to act on it at another date, and then it won't drift into somebody else's mind who's more of a doer on that. And then you'll begin to attract an audience as well. The other thing I want to point out is at the bottom here is the ongoing activity that I spoke about. And these are the things that you have to set up to do weekly or monthly. So on there, I have post every day in Facebook. I need to have a blog or a vlog once a week. You know, put all of those things down so you are aware of what's going on with them and that you're actually doing them. And for some of you, that might mean actually putting a check mark by them every day as you're getting used to making these a habit. And then also, this helps you also make sure that you have the support and the resource evaluation as well. Because if you don't have your virtual assistant lined up or you don't have what you need lined up, it's going to be a real challenge to get some of this done. So remember, as we're going through all this, that words on paper don't make it happen. It's your action around your manifestation that really makes those intentions happen. Don't get bogged down in that constrictive energy of I've tried this before and it didn't work. You may have more tools now and it will actually work now that you know how to put it together. 1.5 hours a day makes a huge difference. When I teach my community building classes on social media, people over and over, they tell me, I've tried this before and it didn't work and I don't have time to jump on social media. If you can set aside 1/2 hour a day to work inside your community, it'll work. And flying by the seat of your pants doesn't work either. I can attest to that because I used to, before I set out an editorial calendar on a regular basis, I used to fly by the seat of my pants, and half the time posting social media, my blogs, it didn't happen. So make sure that you actually have a plan. You look like you're itching to say something about that, Amanda Rose.
I know, I've done that too. And so I'm a big believer in laying out the calendar 6 months or a year, and then you know exactly where you're going. And you can also, in your business, if you create a calendar, you can create where you believe your big paydays are. So it allows you to, maybe you're going to do a live event or a video training or an online course that you're going to launch. You'll know exactly where to put all those little pieces that lead to the success of those things. So I used to fly too. It doesn't work.
You know what? I want to speak to that for a moment about those big paydays. Don't do one launch during the year.
Yes.
And decide that, that's going to be my big payday. Because if for some reason things don't go as planned, you're without income. I learned that very early in my career, and it was kind of ugly. So make sure that you have little income streams that you're planning every single month. So that might mean, we're going to start next month, we're going to have a community building, a 6-week course. That's not a huge launch for us. That's an inner circle, which if you guys don't know the difference, a big launch is when we go live and we sell something big. An inner circle is where I reach out to people who have been very interested in what we've done, and I offer them a limited class on something. People that I know need help with things, and that's what next month is. So be sure that you have little income streams every single month.
Because also those income streams, if you're working with clients, those are building the momentum up to those other bigger things. And so you don't want to go from, okay, I had this huge successful, like, let's say live event or launch, and then you've got nothing for the next 3 months. So as Juliet was saying, all those pieces, all those little clients you worked with, all those opportunities, all add to that bigger launch. And then you keep going, and then you launch something else, but you don't have to go from big launch to sinking to zero income.
Exactly. And I mentioned that we learned a big lesson when we had a big launch back in January of last year. Our big lesson was people don't have money in January. They spend it all at Christmas.
And I'm going to add something too, because you had mentioned this. I tried this before, it didn't work. So I want to share with you. I wanted to launch online courses and do a lot of my programs online. So a coach that I was working with at the time said, well, let's start like an entry level. Now you all know that my thing is speaking, right? So whether it's presenting online, video, live events, going to other people's events and speaking, that's what I teach. But we decided to launch a program called Networking Magic. It went back to my old days in my business, and it was all about networking, creating referrals and relationships. I launched the program, and sadly, I had one person purchase it. One. And it was a really good program. And so I literally almost took myself out and said, this online course thing isn't going to work. I can't do it again. And through a mastermind that I was in, they said, well, why not try it again? And so then I launched one program, had huge success. I launched another program online that had huge success. And so if I had stuck to that belief that it didn't work, I would have never had 2 successful courses. Actually, three successful courses.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I went through something very similar with one of my courses as well. And we put it into a group program, and it worked beautifully. So you just never can tell. You might have to go at it from a different angle is all you need to do on it. Not having a plan will not give you success. So just know that. You have to be organized. There is so much work around marketing and marketing campaign. And as we said yesterday, first and foremost, you have to remember you're a sales company, because without sales, you are no company. So you have to have a plan, a very organized plan. So here's where the forms are. For those of you who haven't joined, go over to Platform Building for Authors, Coaches, and Speakers and Online Entrepreneur. I'll put up the URL right after this. These are the ones you're looking for. You go over to Forms over on the left side of your Facebook screen, and you'll be able to pull down a blank template for the new year, and then a sample planning form template. So that's where I've filled it out, and you can kind of get an idea of what you're looking for in those categories. And that's also where we have the ebook, The Planning for Your Best Year Yet, 2018, so that you can go through the exercises and really take a hard look at what you did this year that worked, that you want more of, what you did this year that didn't work, and there's some other questions to go through in there as well.
That's awesome, Julia, by the way.
Yeah, Platform Builders. I did this slide at the beginning of Monderose as well. You can go over to my platform group at Platform Builders, Facebook/group/Platform Builders, and you can go over to Monderose's at Facebook group/Big Speaker over there and jump on. And so here is a Monderose's portion that we were going to do at the beginning, but it just didn't work out today. So.
Yep, and I'm really sorry, everybody. People know me. I am a super on-time person. However, what was supposed to be an eye surgery appointment for my husband was going to take a couple hours. Instead, it took 6 hours. So couldn't anticipate that. So thank you for your patience. And since we're talking about speaking gigs in the online format and building your platform, I want to share with you a couple of things that I've learned that have really helped me. And when we're thinking of online speaking gigs, so think of you're doing Facebook Live, you're going to do YouTube, and you're going to see that when you watch somebody else do videos, you're going to go, well, I didn't like this about them, or this occurred. And there's reasons, because they're not thinking about the things that they need to think about. So the first thing is actually how to connect with your viewers. Now, when I'm speaking to a live audience, it's very different. I look over here, I look over there, I'm engaging with them. And then now I'm talking to a box or a phone. And so now that big energy just shrunk really down into this little tiny thing. So I want you to do something with me for a moment. I want you to look if you're online, look at your webcam camera or your phone camera, right where you're seeing us right now. Go ahead and look at that. That's where your eyes need to be. Now, we were doing a training. Juliet obviously can't maintain her eye level at that little camera, but that's what we want to do. So if I go ahead and I'm doing a Facebook Live video and I'm looking down at the screen, I'm not connecting with them on eye level. So make sure that your eyes are looking at that little camera, because it's going to allow you to come across as more present to them, more focused on them. You're talking to them. Because when you're delivering information in a video, it's kind of like you're talking in a box. So you really have to talk like you're talking to an individual. So maintain that eye contact. Now, another really great strategy that helped me feel less robotic was to imagine that I was talking to somebody that I really loved. So I would either think of my husband or one of our dogs, somebody that made me feel a good friend, that made me feel really comfortable. So I could be natural. So I'm just going to change for a minute, and I'm just going to talk like I'm talking here and blah, 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 whatever I'm saying. Now I want you to see the difference. If you can see me, now I'm going to imagine that I'm talking to my dog, Sunny. So Sunny is the sweetest soul on this earth. He loves everybody and everything. So if I'm delivering information and I'm imagining that I'm talking to this sweet soul, my energy shifts. So I become more present, more at ease. And you want that to come across on your video. So if you might want to consider putting that person's image next to the little lens. Not that you don't want it to block the lens in any way or cut you off. You have to be careful of that. But enough close to the lens that when you're looking at it, you're imagining that you're talking to that individual or that pet that you love and adore. And watch how your energy will shift. You'll come across as less robotic and more in the moment with people. Now, another thing on the connection level is a technique that I actually learned that helped me actually increase my sales. So if you're presenting on video and you want to sell more, and this may sound strange to some of you, imagine that you're sending out white light to those individuals, because the white light breaks the resistance. And I actually know somebody that tripled their sales while she was doing her closing, sending out white light. Tripled her sales. So if that could work for that person, it can work for you too. So hold the intention before you start the video that you're sending this beautiful white light out to the audience. Keep your eyes focused on that little circle there and imagine that you're talking to somebody that you love and care about most. Now, the other thing that I want to mention is downside or up. So I did talk about the eyes. And so what happens when we're talking, even people do this when they're presenting on video, and I just did it now, but you probably couldn't see with my glasses, is I looked in this corner of my eyes. So your eyes need to be straight ahead and focused. You want to avoid bringing your eye contact down because that comes across as less confident. If sometimes when we're thinking about something, we tend to look up. And once again, you're disengaging from your audience. So even if you are doing a short video and you're using some slides, know your slides really well so that you can maintain that beautiful contact with that little camera. So keep the eyes focused there. The next one is to bullet your way to results. And I'll tell you what I do. So I make sure that I think about every video presentation I'm going to do before I do it. So I might write some notes down. I might write, okay, I'm going to talk about this, this, and this. So I want to think of an opening that will grab their attention, because we don't grab their attention in the beginning of the video, they're not going to stay with us. So we want to have a video that grabs their attention with some kind of opening. Think about, do you want to share 1 point, 2 point, or 3 points? And the last thing is, what do you want your closing to be? So once I've figured that out, I take what I'm going to do and I put it in bullet points. And then I'm going to use this little piece of paper. So say this was my bullet points here. I fold them up and I stick them on my computer right next to the lens. So even if I think I know exactly what I'm going to talk about, I don't want to be on Facebook Live and forget where I'm going. So this way, I only have to glance a little bit to the side to know that I'm going to talk about in a few moments that things are going to go wrong. So those are actually notes that I wrote earlier, but I have the slides to keep me on track. So just give yourself little bullet points, maybe even use stickies or something like that, or even take something in the back, like a wall where you can put little notes. And that will make sure that you cover the things that you wanted to do. Have a clear opening, cover either 1, 2, or 3 points, and then have that clear closing at the end. Juliet, can you click the next thing?
I can. I just want to, can I comment?
Absolutely.
So the how to connect, you guys saw yesterday with my tech difficulties how annoying it was that you were seeing my fingers because I was using a gaming computer. And so that's the kind of stuff she's talking about. That I would never do that unless I absolutely had to, like we did yesterday, because it's not really connected.
Right. And you don't want people to be looking like up your nose and things like that. Really set that camera up.
Yeah.
Before you start. Check your lighting. You want lighting coming at you. And in this cases, stuff happens. You know, we were planned for this training. Julia wasn't a Facebook Live that she was going to, you know, or Facebook or YouTube video that she could redo and things like that. This was a live training. It happens. And we'll talk about that, what happens when it happens.
It did. The other thing you can use if you have a longer script than just the bullet points that Amanda Rose was talking about is there is a program, I believe it's called teleprompter.com, that you can use as well that'll have a script that actually rolls. And a lot of times if I have a bigger video that's supposed to look off the cuff, that's what I use because seriously, when I do a video, I could spend all morning on it because I'm a perfectionist. So that'll help you as well.
Can we just say that too? Because if you've ever done YouTube videos, you will start, stop, start, stop, start, stop. So you might think, and this is me, I think it's, I'll nail this, you know, hair done, makeup on, I'll be out done in a half an hour. Hour and a half, I'm still there.
Yeah.
Because I want to put my best foot forward. So for me, being a communicator, I have to be real careful on how I position things and how I say things, or if I have blunders and stuff like that. So I have to start over. It may not be the case for you, but it will always take you more time than you think it will.
It will, and I have to tell you, my video editor gets such a kick out of me because I actually have to tell him, edit everything out but 27 minutes to 29 minutes. And he just laughs. He's like, really? It took you that long to get it right? Yeah, it did. Okay, why is that not clicking again?
Okay, so the next one is to practice, practice, practice. So back up one second, Julia, if you can. It's practice, 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 which meaning that you want to be able to deliver that video like you know it. So you don't want to sound robotic, right? So that's why I often don't write everything out, because I want to be natural and be able to communicate from my heart space. But I also practice stuff before I'm going to do it. So let me tell you what happened when I didn't do that. When Facebook Live first came out, I was on my way back from a speaking event and I thought, you know what, I just did an event. I'm feeling good. I look good. Let me figure out how to do Facebook Live. And I actually had a consult booked from somebody, and that person was watching my Facebook Live and they canceled it. They canceled their consult. You know why? Because it sucked. I didn't practice. I thought I could just wing it. I know my stuff. But here's the deal, is you need to really get comfortable with the information that you could literally know how long it's going to take you, deliver it in a clear, concise, and compelling way. And practice is the only way to do that.
Excuse me. Right.
Okay, so let's talk about how to recover from those big blunders. And they happen. So if you're on Facebook Live, right? So you're rolling and it's live and you want to keep this going, and maybe you're even talking for a while, 20 minutes or a half an hour. So if you're finding that you say something that's not clear, and I'm actually going to share something with that in 1 second as well that came to me to share. If you're saying something that's not clear, you can say, let me repeat that. Let me restate that. Those are the let me statements. And the let me statements allow you to rephrase something. So let me rephrase what I just said. So you can undo any blunders that you just had. You can erase them and literally communicate in a way that is clearer. So one of the challenges, this is something that came to me and I feel like I should share it, so I'll share it. Many people will say to, even in their chats, do you understand? It is not the responsibility of our viewers of our videos or our audiences to understand. It is our responsibility to communicate something that is clear. Because when we say, do you understand, it's putting the responsibility on them when it's always on us. So be careful of that languaging. And you can always say to an audience, was I clear? You know, did that resonate with you? Rather than putting the responsibility on them to understand something that may have not been communicated clearly. We're human beings, right? And we can't always communicate something in a clear, concise, compelling way. And I do this for a living, so I'm telling you, if I can't do it, it's really hard to do it. And so we're human, so allow ourselves to have the flexibility to take care of those situations where we may have said something. And I'll also do something when I'm in front of a live audience. I'll go, wait a minute, let me rewind. And you can do that on video too. And it's just saying, let me rewind and start that over again. The next one is what your audience doesn't know. So your audience doesn't know that maybe you forgot to share tip 3 with them. Your audience doesn't know that you left this part out. Your audience doesn't know that what you said wasn't exactly as clear as you wanted it to. So they don't know. They're just watching your video. They're having this conversation with you online. So all the little things that we think they're concerned about, they're not concerned about. They're more concerned about connecting with you, hearing the information. There was a woman, she does actually, it's like bikini beach coaching or something like that. I can't remember exactly, and I don't want to target somebody. But she's really not a great communicator, but she has tons of followers and fans. And she wasn't wearing a bikini when I watched her video. I wanted to see what she was up to. So people don't always know what they don't know, right? So give yourself a little bit of slack. And then the last one is the D button, the delete button. So I deleted that first video. I took it off and then I said, okay, I'm going to do it over again. Now, it was too late for that person who was considering hiring me. And I understand. It was horrible. I wouldn't hire me either that time. So I went back 15 minutes later and redid that video and really nailed it. So you can delete videos so they don't have to be perfect. And the one thing that I can share with you that from my own experience is I was really robotic on video, really robotic and stiff. So this is what I remember doing a video for a boot camp I was doing, and it was called Public Speaking Mastery Boot Camp. And I would say, well, I wanted to share with you Public Speaking Mastery Boot Camp and why you want to attend. Horrible, really bad. So I had to learn these things that I'm sharing with you and to get better and better at it. And the more you do it, the easier it's going to get. I was actually meeting with one of my clients. I hadn't seen her in a while. And she's doing a lot of Facebook Live videos. And she said, you know what? I really enjoy doing them now. I hated them in the beginning. And now I do it once a week and I love it. So if you commit to doing these videos, sharing them on YouTube, Facebook, getting it out there, getting your message in front of more people, eventually you're going to love doing it.
I agree. Is that it?
That's it.
That's it, guys. So any questions?
Well, so I'll throw this out too, is because we mentioned the groups as well. And so you can also, one of the things I do in my groups is I share video tips as well, how to present on video and how to share your information online. So when you think speakers aren't just live audiences anymore. There's so many different facets. So as well as making sure you go to Juliet's group, make sure you come to mine too, which is Big Impact and Income Speaker, because you get value and from totally different perspectives. And both of us can help you absolutely accelerate your business.
I agree. And the more comfortable you can get on video, you can actually graduate from a speaker sheet into a sizzle reel when you get really good at it. So that's one reason you should absolutely practice. We have a couple people in the chat here. Oh, Sherry, thank you. I appreciate it. So does Armando Rose. And
Sherry's one of my clients. Love you, Sherry.
Hi, Sherry. Love that perspective, not the audience's response. Yeah, I like that too, as well. Jenny Campbell said, love the perspective of not the audience's responsibility to understand what you were saying. Karen Jones, thank you. You know what? Reach out to me, Karen. Let's meet. Anybody else? Did you have questions about today? I know we went over it really kind of, you probably have to download the worksheets and just really start working with them. And if you do have questions, reach out to me, and maybe we'll get together this whole group again and just go over those worksheets if we need to. If enough of you PM me, personal message me, Armanda Rose and I'll jump back on and help you guys go through those, because you might actually need both of us, because if you have speaking goals, she's going to be a little bit more realistic about those speaking goals, those live speaking goals. So all right, guys, if nobody has questions, then we're going to wrap it up today. I hope to have the replays out in the next couple days. I have to give them to my assistant, Kim, and get them on the landing page for you guys so that we can send you out an email. It's been terrific having you. And Amanda Rose, do you have a sample speaker sheet?
Jenny, just message me.
Okay, TY. Okay, cool. Thanks, guys. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now. And it was fabulous having you, and we'll talk again.
All right, bye, everybody. Love you.